Janome.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Janome studio. My name is Alba and today I'm going to be showing you one of our multi-needle embroidery machines, the MB-7. So I really love the fact that this is a multi-needle machine that is really easy to use, portable, just easy to maneuver and work with. The machine itself, the MB-7, as I said, has 7 needles to it. So this is a super efficient embroidery-only machine. If you're new to the world of multi-needle embroidery machines, what that means is I can set up to 7 thread colors and thread 7 needles at the beginning of my embroidery process, making it more efficient and giving me the ability to be able to step away from my embroidery and it continue to work and just make it more efficient for me. So one of the first things that always gets asked, they look at the machine and go, this must be very difficult to thread and to learn how to use. And what I love is Janome keeps so consistent. And as we start going into the screen, you're going to notice that the icons and the symbols have remained very similar to very traditional embroidery machines. So one of the first things that I am going to do is show you the threading path and take you through how to thread the needle. Now I've set up some really thick floss so that you could see it a little bit better, and I'm going to walk you through the threading path, stopping of course at the eye of the needle as this is too thick to go through that eye. As I said, it holds my 7 spools of thread on top as well as a bobbin thread in the back so that I could be embroidering, winding a bobbin, and doing all of that at the same time. Now from my spool of thread, I have a hole and a thread guide right at the top, and I've already put that through. As my thread comes down, there are tension discs right at the back side where my hand is. And there is an eye to take you to that tension disc. And as I pull that thread up, there are 2 tension discs right underneath the knob, and I am putting my thread in that tension disc and around the pin, holding my thread in place. Now I'm going to come straight forward, and these are my tension dials. And what I like to do is floss and move my thread back and forth, and my thread will go into my tension disc. And now I'm just going to give you and follow through that path on the rest of the threading process. As I come down, I am following arrows that are on the machine, and there is my first positioning. I have an arrow going in a U shape, and that is to go into the spring at the bottom. Now I've gone into the spring and my arrow is pointing up. So I am going to go into the slot the closest to me, and I'm coming straight up. Now logically, my take-up lever is going to be the next position that I'm threading. And my arrow is pointing down, so I am going to come down. And I'm going to follow the hole and the path that the machine is having me go in. And I'm just going to trim this thread because it's wanting to shred. This typically is not thread that you would be using on this machine. Perfect. So now that I'm down, and you will notice that each thread path is numbered on the front of the machine, and that corresponds to the thread number that will be in the machine and for the design. Now my next part, right at the top of the needle, is a thread guide, and that's going to hold it. Now I said this is very thick thread, so I'm going to skip the eye of the needle, but we're going to pretend this is in the eye of the needle. And once you're in the eye of the needle, you want to take your thread and put it into the foot itself. And then you have a spring up top to hold your threads and keep them neatly out of the way. And that is threading that MB-7. It looks a lot scarier than it actually is. It's a very simple process, and when you're straight on in front of the machine, the arrows really guide you towards that threading process. One of the things that I really like about the machine, and I'm going to remove that thread, is the fact that it is a complete Freearm, meaning all of my area around my machine are completely open. I'm showing the machine on the Alba Cabinet, which is an additional purchase to the machine. Ask your dealer about that. What I love about this specifically designed cabinet for this machine is the opening that it leaves directly underneath where your hoop would be placed. So imagine embroidering a team jacket, a coat, a robe, a quilt. All of that bulk now has a spot to go and to be out of the way. So they work really well together. Now I love that Freearm Construction, and the machine itself comes with 3 hoops, and they are on the wall, and I'm going to show you all 3. The largest is the M1 hoop, which I have in front of me and on the wall, and this is a 9.4 by 7.8 or a 240 millimeter by 200 millimeter hoop. The second to the largest one is a 126 by 110 millimeter or 4.9 by 4.3, and then our small little hoop, and that is the M3 hoop. That is a 50 millimeter by 50 millimeter or 1.96 by 1.96. And I love that little hoop for being able to do collars and cuffs and all types of different monogramming options. I'm going to show you how easily the hoop goes onto the machine. I'm going to slide it underneath my needles, and it just snaps into place. And you will see that that leaves all of that opening underneath the machine to be able to work with big, bulky items. Now on the screen itself, I am going to show you, this is an embroidery only machine, so there's no toggling back and forth, and the icons are going to seem really familiar. Janome is really good with keeping consistency among its machines. So this is going to look very familiar if you're already familiar with a Janome machine. My built-in designs are what's first visible on the screen, and there are 150 built-in designs, plus I have a USB port to be able to bring designs to the machine. When I touch my menu option, it will give me this home page, and this will allow me to scroll through my designs, and my first of 7 pages is all for the M2 size hoop. All of the designs are grouped together by size, and I love that. The next group of designs are for the M1 hoop, the one that I have on the machine. And then it will go to the small M3 hoop. So I love that the designs are grouped together by size. I hate when you fall in love with a large design and you're trying to put it in a small space. So I like that that is done. I'm going to open up one of the designs, and of course my hoop will come into center. I just allows you for that ease of use. Now on my screen, I am getting typical information. I'm able to see my design and able to see my colors along with the design information. So this design is 4.2 by 4.9 inches. It will take approximately 27 minutes to stitch, and it is 5 colors in choice on here. It is a total of 12,077 stitches. So all of the vital information that I need is right here on that screen. One of my options that I have is this one right here. It is a spool of thread with a number 4/8. And this is going to toggle me to, do I want to see my embroidery design picture larger and only see my first 4 colors of the design? Or do I want to make my design picture smaller and see my first 8 colors of the design? So I like being able to change that view and be able to get a really good look at what I am doing. Now on my screen, it will put everything in a sequential order. Needle number 1 will stitch first, needle number 2 will stitch second, needle number 3 will stitch third. But I have the option of changing that because my needle number 1 has no thread on it. And needle number 2 is in red, 3 is green, and these may not be the colors that I want to have the design done in. Rather than clipping all my threads and re-threading from the beginning, I have the option of changing my stitching order really easily. So I am able to go to the icon that has a needle pointing towards my colors. So what this will allow me to do is change my order here. So number 1 is set up for needle number 1, and this is the gold. But my gold is at needle number 7. So this will allow me to change my first needle that will stitch to number 7. So I did not have to re-thread my whole machine. Now I am going to arrow down and highlight the second color, which is blue. If this were threaded, I would need to make that number 1. So I can touch minus and make needle position number 2. The second thing that will stitch will actually be needle 1. So I can assign my needles and my colors to really make it efficient and easy, and I won't have to re-thread and thread my machine over and over again with each design that I pick. And I really like that it does that. Once I select OK and go back to my previous screen, you will notice that the head of the machine is moving. The first needle that will stitch will always fall into that center position. So you recall I made needle number 7, the first one that stitches. So the head moved to move that position into center. Really, really easy. very intuitive, especially if you're familiar with other Janome machines. Some of my other options on the screen are my view option. So in my view option on the screen, I can change so that I can see just what is stitching. And sometimes this is helpful when I'm substituting colors. So here you'll see that only that blue crown is on the screen, whereas when I touch my change view icon, I now see my full design. And I have a needle with a plus and a minus. I skipped over position number 1 to make room so that you could get a better view of the screen. But let's say in this particular design, I did not want to stitch a whole section. I want to skip over that thread color. I could do that by jumping through the colors with this icon. Really easy, very familiar if you're used to other Janome machines. So I really like the machine and the way it's set up. This is a machine that a lot of people like to start a cottage business with. So maybe 2-3 times a year, I like to do a craft fair or a flea market type of an event. This machine really lends itself to that. It weighs 43 pounds and it is a virtually small footprint. So when I remove the hoop and you really look at that side profile and the size of the machine, it is an easy machine to pick up, to handle. It is a total of 43 pounds, and I could handle that easily if I did need to move it from my home to be able to go to a kiosk type of a setup or a craft fair or that type of setting. So I like the fact that it really has industrial-like features in a home machine comfortable type of setup. I love the fact of how portable it is and just the ease of the use of it. Now, I do want to go over, I mentioned that 3 hoops come with the machine, but I wanted to show you the bobbin area. And I am removing my bobbin. And this is a metal bobbin that holds a lot of thread. So I like the fact that it is not a standard sewing machine bobbin. It does hold approximately double the amount of thread. Very easy to thread, and because of how open this is, look at how easy it was for me to change the bobbin and put another one in. And it has that protective dust cover. One of the items that I like to mention for an optional purchase and to consider was the Alba Cabinet. Now I'm going to give you a really good look at the cabinet. Now, I mentioned this Alba Cabinet several times, and I wanted to give you a really good look at it. I believe it's a perfect companion piece for the MB-7. So on the side, you'll notice that I have lots of storage for large spools of thread. This will hold 32 king-size spools of thread and give you plenty of room and easy access to them. You'll notice the top of the table, I have lots of empty room and lots of space to put my hoops, to hoop my fabric, and to get ready for my project to be embroidered. As I come over to the front, I wanted to show you how beautifully that pulls out and holds another 48 spools of mini king size spools of thread. Plus, as you could see, there's lots of other storage compartments on the front. Now, two other things that I am going to share with you are also optional items, but I think you'll really be impressed by them. One is the baseball cap hoop. And this hoop allows you to embroider on a baseball cap very easily. And I'm going to show you the underside as well. You're using a sticky stabilizer to secure your baseball cap, and you're able to put that on the machine the same way you do any other hoop. I really enjoy doing baseball caps. My friends and family often ask me to embroider personalized caps for them, and this will allow you to do that. Now, I had mentioned before working with big, bulky items, and it's not unusual for me to do really thick, heavy terry robes. And this is another optional item. It is called the MB-7 support table. And this simply goes around that free arm area. That way, when your hoop is holding something very heavy, it will support and eliminate any vibration that you may have. I really want to thank you for sharing your time with me. I hope you got a really good idea of what the Janome MB-7 is all about. I'd like you to reach out to your dealer and check on the different pricing and finance options that are available to you. And most importantly, don't forget to tell them Alba sent you. Bye-bye.